Unscripted. KSU. Quick, tactical conversations from the heart of the power sports industry. In this business, time is torque. So hit the ignition, twist the throttle, and let's fire it up.
Mark Sheffield, episode 13. We're on episode 13, right? Where you at?
Is it
a
13
new location.
or 14?
We're on 13. Don't throw me off here. You're in a new location. Where are you at today? What are you doing? What are you up to?
Hey, I was GM of Wood Cycle and Woods Indian for 12, 13-ish years. Kind of semi-retired about 10 years ago, but I still come back and spend a week at the store every quarter. And so I am actually on the showroom today. And, as I tell all my management team, I say I really miss 80% of being the GM of this store, but the 20% that I don't miss, man, I really don't miss that 20%. The employees coming in the office crying, the, pissed off customer who's pissed off about something they did, not something we did that, ultimately we've got to fix. But yeah, I'm back at the dealership today and I'm in our Indian little customer waiting area here. And then you can check out, we got some really cool stuff going on. We actually had, it was crazy. Last month, I was here about 3 weeks ago, and this area right here, we had 20 fully built UTVs, fully pimped out, ready to go. And we had a banner run at the end of November and sold 17 of those guys. So, I'm here bitching and complaining that we don't have any built units on the floor, but it's because we sold everything that we had. So, business is pretty good and no complaints.
Very good. Well, you've already started blabbing away as normal, so let me start the pod clock before this thing gets out of hand. That's interesting. I thought it was you were the one that, this thing cuts me off every time. I thought it was you're the one that was going into the office crying, but it's interesting that's your employees. It's not what they tell me. But anyway, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about? We don't even have anything planned. We thought it would be a good idea to get an episode in. We're a little late to the punch here, but what are we talking about?
So I had two incredible customer experiences over the last couple of weeks, including one where I was talking to a CEO of a company, working on a project with them. And, the CEO in a meeting full of all of his executives came out and said, you know what, we screwed up. We made some mistakes and we're actually going to talk about it and we're going to work on fixing it. And to me, that was a very different experience than I am used to in this industry where, a lot of the vendors that we work with, it's, how many people can I point fingers at? How many other people can I blame? So really interested to see somebody step up. So, one of my questions for you this morning is, what's a recent customer experience success story that you've had lately?
Well, the reason we didn't get this podcast episode out on time is probably the one that comes to mind first. The platform that I use to record and edit and do all the stuff that we do here on this podcast was malfunctioning last week when we were trying to get on, and I couldn't get into my account. I had some problems with the studio that was downloaded on my computer. Anyway, so I had to reach out to the company, talk to them, and it's first an AI chatbot, which a lot of these companies have, and the nightmares behind all these companies where you're calling and talking to AI, and it's just a nightmare, phone trees, and trying to get to a single person. It quickly put me in touch with a human based on 2 prompts that I gave it. And then that human helped me out and went above and beyond, actually, with their customer support and customer experience. Not only did they have me troubleshoot, they troubleshot for me quickly. I got tied up with other meetings. They sent me a couple follow-up communications, doing work behind the scenes, got me back up and running. And then kept following up with me 2 days after to make sure everything was going smoothly. Okay. They were checking it still. So that's something I don't experience that often in the technology world, especially. It's, like I said, so much AI, which we've talked about a lot lately, and there's a lot of benefits from the AI tools, but the customer touch points made a huge difference. They went above and beyond, and this was just a customer service rep. They were just helping me out in my account. So that's the one that comes first and foremost to my mind. But what else for you? I mean, you said the CEO. You said you had 2 stories. So what's the other one?
I think you talk about that and, thinking about AI. I don't know, I probably made 50 rentals from Hertz this year. And I don't know if anybody's rented recently, but they actually have this little computerized thing that you drive through that scans the car and does an AI image of it. And, you know, if they pick up any damage to that car, they just send you an email and say, hey, you can pay $350 now for that chip on the rim, or $600 if you want to dispute it. And, you know, I had a car that I turned into Hertz probably 6 months ago here in San Antonio Airport, and they lost that car and could not find it. And I spent better part of 3 weeks and about 8 hours of my life, never once was able to speak to a human being. It was all chat, emails, AI. And in fact, the only way I ever got that issue sorted out was I went to LinkedIn and I bashed them on LinkedIn and called them out and linked to them. And their customer relations people actually reached out to me, and that was how I was able to get that sorted out. So power of social media. But, you know, the interest and experience that I just had, those of you who know me, you know, I've had multiple surgeries on my back. I'm kind of held together with duct tape and baling wire. And I, coming back to New Braunfels this week, I got a doctor that I've worked with for the last 15, 20 years here. I really like the guy. It's worth it for me to visit him when I come back into town versus finding someone local to all the other places that I stay. And I was supposed to have a procedure on my back on Monday, and they kept texting me, telling me, you know, it's a follow-up appointment you're coming in for. It's not a procedure. And I would email them back. And, you know, it went back and forth. And finally, after about 10 or 12 times of going back and forth, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go in on Monday. I'm going to tell the doctor that something's not right and get it scheduled down the road. I'll just use this follow-up. And so I got into the office at 3:40 on Monday. Nurse came in. I kind of told her what happened. She went outside a couple of minutes. The doctor comes in, and doctor walks in the room and he goes, you know what? We screwed up. And I'm sorry about that. What's it going to take to make it right? And I was just blown away by somebody owning that. And this doctor is typically booked out 2 to 3 months in advance. They opened up the surgery center this morning and got me in at 6:30 this morning. He came in early, took 30 minutes, knocked out what he needed to do. And so, you know, I told the doctor when I was done that I was almost blown away by that level of customer service, and more so by somebody just admitting that they made a mistake and being willing to own it. So to me, I think that that's something we can do in the dealership. And, you know, one of the problems that I typically see is that dealers are willing to own their mistakes only after they've dragged the customer through the mud. And in the end, if you know you're going to do it, it's probably best to do it up front, because if you drag it out, if you take a long time to get there and then you finally fix it, you probably still have not done anything to salvage that customer. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you a follow-up question to that. What's some practical real world examples or opportunities to do that? Is it training the individual staff and working with them to be able to admit their mistakes, or does it take management to come out and do that? What are your thoughts there? Some real world applications?
You know, I think it's empowering your team to make some decisions on the floor. We do a little thing here at the dealership that every vehicle that we sell, we take $25. I don't believe in pack, but you could call it a pack if you want. It's $25 we take out of every deal and we put it into a kitty. And we've told every employee here, you know, if you got a customer relations problem going down, you got up to $200 that you can utilize to fix that problem. It comes out of that kitty. And I will tell you that very rarely is it ever used. And, you know, I don't tell the people that it's no questions asked, because if they make a decision and I don't agree with it, they're not going to get chewed out, but I'm going to explain to them why I probably would have done it differently, and here's how to do it next time around. And then the other good thing about that kitty is that, you know, if we have a situation where parts sells a windshield to a unit and customers got a problem with the windshield a couple of months down the road, and maybe it's a parts problem, maybe it's a service problem, instead of having those two departments fighting about who's going to take care of that, just use the kitty, you know, and then nobody's responsible for it. And so just trying to eliminate, you know, those internal battles that happen over who's going to take care of the customer. We just want to get the customer taken care of. And if they don't make the choice that we agree with, then, you know, we'll have a discussion about here's how we think it should be done differently next time around. But I think there's a lot of small things that dealers can do like that.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing we know about Mark Sheffield is he loves his kitties. So thanks for making that apparent once again.
Yeah, kitty's got more than one word.
Let me shift gears a little bit here. what you said last week or whatever episode that was about the service managers, there being 10 phenomenal or 10 really good service managers in this industry, seemed to get some people's panties in the wad, and you got a lot of feedback and flack from that, and we got a lot of back and forth and notes from that. So I want to dig into that a little bit more. And I don't even know how I want to dig into that, but are you doubling down on that statement? What are your thoughts there?
You know what? Just like my doctor, I am owning what I said. There are 10 good service managers in this country, and every other power sports dealer settles for something less. Now, yeah, I did get some flap and some flapping gums and some flack over and some other F words that came out over that
That's
statement.
the point of this, right? That's the point of this podcast.
Yeah, it's
there
good.
we go.
Excuse my F bomb there that I almost dropped, but think about it. And I think one of the I'll back that statement up though, in that theoretically there are more than 10 good power sports service managers in this country. They just don't work in power sports anymore because dealers don't want to pay them what they're worth. And you think about, you got a lot of dealers that are struggling to pay a service manager 6 figures when that same qualified person could go work in auto and make 250 grand a year if they're really good. There's a lot more money, and why does that exist? So a couple of reasons that we have problems in the power sports industry. We've got a lot of dealers that subsidize the sales department on the back of service and the back of parts. And what do I mean by that? Well, it takes 3 or 4 hours to recon or build that unit, but the customer's not going to pay for that. So service is only going to do it for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And so we're subsidizing sales on the back of service. Now that service department is not making all the money it really needs to make. And so we look at the expense ratios and we're like, we can't afford a good service manager. You can't afford a good service manager because you stripped all that profit out of that department to make the sales department look better. But now you're really struggling.
Once again,
typically that goes off when you're talking, but you were kind of run on sentences earlier. So I'm going to blame you on that. Plus you said it late. So it would have gone off when you were talking.
Finish your thought.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the problem, and I think the other issue that exists in the industry, and I've said this many hundreds, thousands of times over the years, every department in the dealership should be a profit center. You shouldn't just make money in sales and finance and lose money in parts and service. You should make money in sales, make money in service, make money in finance, make money in parts. And, if you're really struggling, if you're just a super sales focused guy or super finance focused, which 80% of the owners and GMs are, then, figure out what you need in fixed ops and go out and hire those people. But quit stealing money out of parts and service. Quit discounting. Quit offering customers 10 and 15 and 20% discounts on all the parts and accessories they buy when they get a new unit, because you're just sucking profitability out of that department to subsidize the sales department. And the reality is that we have analyzed this to the nth degree. And when the sales department is getting discounts on everything that's sold to a unit by the parts and by the service department, that money that's being taken out of parts and service isn't extra money that the sales department is making. That discount from parts and service that is being given to sales is then being given to the customer. And so those internal discounts are just a gift to the consumer. They don't help the dealership at all. And they just generate this culture of discounting that so many dealers are used to. And, in the end, discounting is a closing tool of the untrained employee. And we have got to get away from this internal discounting from parts to sales, from service to sales. And, if you want to break the mold, if you want to go out and find that 11th good service manager that exists in the power sports industry, they're out there, but it's not going to be your top technician. It's probably not going to be your guy who's good on the parts counter. You're probably going to have to go out and look in auto and look in rental operations and other places like that and find somebody. And when you find out what they're making and you're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. That's about what I'm making. That's about what, my sales manager's making. That might be what it takes to get a good service manager. But it truly is. I talked about it with Peter and he mentioned it as well. When you've got that service department is got the right team in place and it's humming along and it's not generating problems every day and it's actually helping you to generate repeat customers in the sales department, it truly is a magical thing. And it's just so foreign to so many dealers because so many dealers have just never seen it work. And it can, but it's a rare beast. It's a unicorn.
super quick follow-up to that. You can take a very short time on this. What do you pay one of those top 10, hopefully to be top 15 soon, service managers? What's a number? What would you say?
If you're doing a couple of $1 million in labor in your service department every year, I mean, realistically, that's probably, if you want to get someone who's even halfway good, I mean, it's probably 140 to 160,000 bucks. There's going to be some variances there based on cost of living in the marketplace. If you're running $1 million service department, you're probably looking at a $80 to $100,000 service manager. So that percentage actually, as the department grows a little bit, that percentage drops just a little bit. It's not always a 8 or 5 or 10% ratio. So because as the department gets to be a little bit bigger, you got to have some other talent in there as well. You got to have shop foremen, service writers, QC, all that other fun stuff.
Good. That's been helpful. We're over on time, a lot over on time, but I think that was a good episode. Appreciate you joining us from the showroom. Any final thoughts as we depart? Obviously, AIM Expo, we're going to be talking a lot more about service and profitability when we're there, so I'm looking forward to that. But anything else you want to leave us with? Any markisms?
Yeah, actually, before I go, I just want Michael Turner, the top Indian salesperson in America, to say hi. So,
howdy,
Michael. What's going on?
You're live on the podcast. So
really, which podcast?
Yeah, don't worry about that.
All right, I'll find out later.
It's not on OnlyFans.
Okay,
So
can it be?
Just say hi to everybody.
What's up, guys?
So
how's it going, Michael?
Yeah,
Good to see you.
Turner's the top Indian salesperson in the country, and we are taking this thing all the way home to the finish line.
That's great. Very cool. All right. Well, that's it for episode 13. We'll see you next time. Mark, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you riding with us on Raw and Unscripted. KSU. We'll be back next week with more ways to rev up your dealership success. Until next time, keep the throttle wide open.